Question: what do Tom Petty, Linda Ronstadt, and Jimmy Buffett have in common? Well, you can probably guess it has something to do with the soundtrack to the movie FM. Let's get into it. Hey, I'm Michael Douglas. Welcome back to Dr. Pundit, where we talk about music, not medicine. And on this edition, it's kind of not really an album review, but I was listening to some Linda Ronstadt the other day, and it made me think about the FM soundtrack, the soundtrack to the flop of a movie from 1978, but the soundtrack was absolutely killer that year. And it's memorable, the movie is, for its soundtrack and not the film, which I'll get into in just a few seconds. But these three artists have a common bond because they were all in this movie. And if you should just kind of watch the movie so you can kind of see how cheesy it is. It's well-intentioned, but watch it for the incorporation of all the tracks on the soundtrack within the movie, and it makes it much more enjoyable. Of course, listening to the soundtrack on its own is what you should do regardless, because as a standalone album, it's fantastic. So there are some parallel lines you can draw between each of these artists. For example, Linda Ronstadt and Tom Petty can be categorized as folksy, kind of country rock. And Jimmy Buffett and Tom Petty both played guitar. But the 1978 film starring, of all people, Alex Karras, Cleavon Little, Eileen Brennan, among others, FM was the one that brought all of these people together. Now, the main character of the movie is a DJ named Jeff Duggan, or Dugan. And his radio station is that plays a lot of album-oriented rock and those kinds of things. Well, the station staged a revolt because it appears as though they were on the chopping block. They were going to be bought by an owner that wanted to, among other things, play a lot of commercials for the U.S. Army and take a decidedly more rightward tilt with his prospects for this station. In response, all the DJs who worked at Q-Sky were basically going to stage a radio station play-in where they were going to play nothing but music wall to wall without commercials for as long as it took. Kind of a sit-in protest where they barricaded the entrances of the radio station and played nothing but wall-to-wall music. Hence the title cut by Steely Dan, FM No Static at All. Now the DJs who had handles like Mother, Doc Holliday, the Prince of Darkness, basically were really successful until the police came in the movie, made a motion to clear them out. The radio station management realized the error of their ways and basically said, no, we're not going to sell, and wanted to keep all those protesting DJs on staff. Crisis averted, and it couldn't have been done without the contributions of all the artists on the soundtrack, because that's what you hear in the movie. So, fun facts. Linda Ronstadt, Jimmy Buffett, and Tom Petty all appeared in the film as themselves, along with REO Speedwagon, believe it or not. Live versions of Linda Ronstadt's Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me and Tumbling Dice were included in the soundtrack. Tom Petty, of course, was featured on Breakdown, great song, and Jimmy Buffett, Livingston's Saturday Night. Additional tracks on the album from artists who weren't in the movie include tracks by Bob Seger, Steve Miller Band, Randy Meisner, Foreigner, Billy Joel, Dan Fogelberg, among others. Now, the soundtrack peaked in the top 5 in both the US and Canada, and it's an album I listen to this day. It's just a great album, and for purists out there who don't like the album to be included on a lot of yacht rock lists, well, you know, it has that sound, so get used to it, okay? It's a great album that stands on its own. You may want to watch the movie for some context, but it's the album that brought these three artists, plus a lot of others, together. And it's just a great listen. I'm Michael Douglas. If you like what you see here on the channel, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. And as the late, great Barry White always used to say, let the music play. And I'll see you on the next episode.